Good morning, everyone. Tonight is going to be Yud Tes Nisan, which means that we're going to learn now Sotah Daf Daled. And let's get started. We left off on the bottom of Gimel Amud Beis, the second to last line, the end of the line. Tonu Rabban. Okay, so yesterday we quoted this whole Mishnah from Parakeh about Eidos Harishona and Eidos Achrona. We brought Psukim and Ba and Davar to prove a bunch of different things, how many Edim you need for each step of the Sotah process. And now we're sort of as a continuation to that, but on a separate topic. Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught in the Brisa that Ezahi Eidos Harishona. What do we mean when we say the first testimony, Zay Eidos Tira? That means the testimony of seclusion. Eidos Achrona Zay Eidos Tuma. And the latter testimony is the testimony of Tuma, of actual cohabitation. Turning to Daf Dalet Amra, the Kamashir Stira. So now we said that Eidos Harishona, the first testimony, is the Shir Stira, is the Eidos Stira, is the testimony of seclusion, of the man and the woman secluding themselves. So how long do they have to be secluded in order for the woman to become a Sotah? Kamashir Stira. How long is the seclusion? What's the measuring time? So says the Brisa, continues the Brisa, Kidei Tuma, it is the amount of time that it takes to that the act of cohabitation takes. Kidei Tuma. And how long is that? So Kidei Tuma is the act of defilement, the amount of time that it takes to be defiled. How long is that? Kidei Bia, the amount of time it takes to cohabit. How long is that? Kidei Hara, it's the amount of time that it takes to initiate the act of cohabitation. And if you look in Rashi, the first Rashi on the page, is when the male organ and the female organ touch. The Kamashura, and how long is that? So now the Bryce is going to bring a bunch of different opinions as how long that takes, how long they have to be in the room together, how long it basically takes to initiate this act of cohabitation. So the first opinion is Kidei HaKafas Dekel, the amount of time it takes to walk around the palm tree. Divrei Rabbi Yishmael. That's Rabbi Yishmael's opinion, that the amount of time it takes to walk around the palm tree is the amount of time it takes to start the act of cohabitation, which there's two parts. There's Hara and then there's Gemar Bia. The Gemar Bia is full penetration. And before that is the Hara, which is enough to make her into a Sotah if you have the amount of time of Hara, which the first opinion says is the amount of time it takes to walk around the palm tree. Rabbi Eliezer says, the amount of time it takes to dilute a cup of wine. In the olden days, the wine was very thick, and it had to be diluted with water in order to be able to be drinkable. So the amount of time it takes to dilute the wine. Rabbi Yeshua says, the amount of time it takes to drink a cup of wine. Benazai says, the amount of time it takes to roast an egg. Rabbi Akiva, the amount of time it takes to eat an egg, says Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says that it's for the amount of time that it takes to swallow 3 eggs, one after the other. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yirmiyah, the amount of time it takes for a weaver to tie threads. Chanan ben Pinchas, Chanan the son of Pinchas says, the amount of time it takes for a woman to put her hand into her mouth to take out a toothpick from between her teeth. Plima says, the amount of time it takes for a woman to put her hand into a basket, little kikar, to take out a loaf of bread. And says, Plima, that even though I don't have a clear proof in the Torah for how long Hara takes, however, I have a zeichel davar, I have a hint in the book of Mishlei where it says, that on account of the prostitute woman ad kikar lechem, until the loaf of bread, which we're going to be mefarish that pasuk a little bit more on Amud Beis, but he has the act of znus together with bread in the same pasuk, so he learns from there sort of a hint that the amount of time that it takes to do the act of bia is the amount of time it takes to take bread out of a basket. Okay. So now going back to the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, the first opinion, why does he need to say so many things? Strichi, we need to have all of them. If you look in the first line of the Yamad, he said, the Kamashir Stira, it's Kidei Tuma, Kidei Bia, Kidei Hara, Kidei Akafas Dekel. He gives 4 clarifications in how long it is. So why do you need to say 4 different amounts of time? So Strichi, the Gemara says you needed all 4 of them because they each teach you a Chiddush. The Itana Kidei Tuma, if the Tana would have just said that how long does a steer have to be the amount of time of defilement, Kidei Tuma, Havamina Kidei Tuma Asav the Artsusa, I would have thought that it means the amount of time for them to actually cohabit and plus the amount of time that it takes for the man to seduce the woman before. Kamash Malan, so says Kidei Bia, just the actual act of cohabitation without anything. Vitana Kidei Bia, and if it would have just said Kidei Bia, Hava Amina Kidei Gmar Bia, I would have thought that it means Gmar Bia, the second part of Bia, which is penetration. Kamash Malan, Kidei Ara, that it's just the initiation of the Bia, just the two-way varum touching. And if it would have said just Kidei Ara, Hava Amina Kidei Hara Vartsusa, I would have thought that it means Hara plus seduction. So it had to say all three of these things. Kidei Tuma. So it says Kidei Tuma. The Kama Kidei Hara. And how long does the Hara take? Kidei Akafas Dekel, the amount of time it takes to walk around the palm tree. So there you have all four terms that Rabbi Yishmael gave us are necessary. Next. So that's our brisa. We had 9 opinions in the brisa about how long it takes to have this relation. For Ramini, however, we have a stira from a Tosefta that it says the Tosefta brings the pasuk in Parsha Sotah of Istira that they were secluded. Tosefta asks, "Kama shir stira? How long are they secluded for?" Lo shamanu. It doesn't say in the Torah. However, Kishewemer and the pasuk continues Vihinitma that she was defiled. The pasuk says she Vinistira Vihinitma, she was secluded and defiled. So have Emer Kidei Tuma. So it comes out from there that it has to be the amount of time that it takes for defilement. That's how long the stira has to be. Okay. And Kidei Bia, Kidei Hara, Kidei Chazaras Deka. Like we learned before, with one difference. We said in the beginning in our brayso it said Kidei Hakafas Dekel, the amount of time it takes to walk around the palm tree. Well, here it says Kidei Chazaras Dekel, which for now Chazaras Dekel means the returning of the palm tree, which for now we think it means the same thing as the first brayso, that it means to walk around the palm tree. So let's translate it as that for now. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. That's the words of Rabbi Eliezer. Okay. The problem is it's a stira because Rabbi Eliezer is also in our first brisa. Rabbi Eliezer says the Rabbi Eliezer says the amount of time that it takes to dilute the cup of wine, and he in the first brisa is arguing with Rabbi Yishmael who says to walk around the palm tree. So if in the second brisa he says to walk around the palm tree, then we have a stira Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Eliezer. Okay, Rabbi Yeshua says Kidei Mezigas HaKois. Now this is also a stira. Why? Because in the first brisa Rabbi Yeshua said to drink a cup of wine. Now maybe you could say that drinking and diluting is the same amount of time, but in the first brisa he's arguing with Rabbi Eliezer who says Kidei Mezigas HaKois. So we have a problem. Rabbi Yeshua, another stira. Benazai says that the amount of time it takes to drink it, which also he's arguing. Benazai says something else in the brisa. And Rabbi Akiva says the amount of time it takes to roast an egg. And in our brisa, the first brisa said Rabbi Akiva said the amount of time it takes to eat an egg. He was arguing with Ben Azai who says the amount of time it takes to roast an egg. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Emer Kidei L'Goyma. And Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says the amount of time it takes to swallow it. Okay, so we have 2 brisas and there's a lot of contradictions between the 2. So let's go one case at a time. So Kasalka Daitoch, initially we think that Hainu Hakafas Dekel, Hainu Chazaras Dekel, that Hakafas Dekel from the first brisa walking around the palm tree is the same thing as Chazaras Dekel, the returning of the palm tree in the second brisa. We think that means the same thing. And Hassam, in the first brisa, Rabbi Yishmael, Kidei Hakafas Dekel, Rabbi Yishmael said to walk around the palm tree. Polig Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer argues on him. He says, no, it's Kidei Mezigas HaKois. Hacha, Rabbi Eliezer, Kidei Chazaras Dekel. And over here in the second brisa, Rabbi Eliezer is saying that his opinion is Chazaras Dekel, and if it means the same thing, then we have a stira Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Eliezer. So Amar Abaye says, Hakafa, the first brisa that says Hakafas Dekel, that means Beregar. It means going around the palm tree on foot. Chazara, when it says the returning of the palm tree, is Beruach, it means the wind is blowing the palm tree, and when it blows it to one side and it goes back, that is the amount of time it takes for Ha'ara. Okay. So there's no stira because Rabbi Eliezer says in the first brisa, Mezigas HaKois, and in the second brisa he says Chazaras HaDekel, so obviously Chazaras HaDekel and Mezigas HaKois is the same amount of time. Okay. Then asks Rabashi, Chazara Beruach, when we say that the amount of time for stira is for the palm tree to return with the wind, right? The wind blows it and it blows back. So is it Kiechi the Azil v'Hadar Asi, Idilma Kiechi the Azil v'Asi, v'Hadar Kai B'Duchte? Is it just that the wind blows it to one side and blows it back, and that's the chazar sadekel, or does it have to be that the wind blows it back, and then it stops? It stops shaking. Meaning, if it's shaking and it makes one wave, is that enough for chazar sadekel, or does it have to stop waving entirely? So says the Gemara, let the question stand. We don't know the answer. Okay. Then Hassam Amar Rabbi Lezer Kedei Mezigas HaKois. In the first brayso, Rabbi Lezer said Kedei Mezigas HaKois to dilute the wine. Hacha over here, he says Kedei Chazaras Dekel, the amount of time for the palm tree to blow. So obviously, Idi v'Idi Chachi Yeruhu, that both the palm tree blowing and Mezigas HaKois takes the same amount of time. Okay. Next, the next stira we had is Hassam Amar Rabbi Yeshua Kedei L'Shtoisoi Hacha Amar Kedei Mezigas HaKois. In the first brayso, Rabbi Yeshua said that the amount of time it takes to drink a cup of wine. In the second brayso, he said the amount of time it takes to dilute a cup of wine. So it's a stira. So so you have to amend the braysos, both of them. That Rabbi Yeshua's opinion is not just to dilute the wine, not just to drink the wine. It has to be to dilute it and to drink it. That's Rabbi Yeshua's opinion in both braysos. So asks the Gemara, you should have just answered like we answered by Rabbi Eliezer that Mezigas HaKois and what's it called, and Shtias HaKois are the same amount of time. Why did you have to say that you have to amend the Girsa and the Brisa that he means that when you to dilute it and to drink it? So Imkain, the Gemara says it's not possible. If you're going to say that you should that Mezigas HaKois and Shtias HaKois, diluting it and drinking it are the same amount of time, then Hainu Rabbi Lezer. That's the opinion of Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer says Mezigas HaKois. Rabbi Yeshua says no. It's l'shtoisoi. If they're both the same amount of time, then why are they arguing? Why do we have two opinions? It's one opinion. Okay, good. Next. First brisa, Ben Azai said that the stira is the amount of time that it takes to roast an egg. The second brisa said that it's the amount of time to drink a cup of wine. So says the Gemara, good. Both of them are the same amount of time. Next. The first price that Rabbi Akiva said that it's the amount of time it takes to swallow one egg. And the second price says the amount of time it takes to roast an egg. So says the Gemara, you have to amend it that Rabbi Akiva's opinion is that that stira is the amount of time that it takes to roast an egg and then to eat it. Why can't we say that it's the same amount of time? Then, if so, then that would be the same opinion as Ben Azai. There would be no argument because Ben Azai says roasting, Rabbi Akiva says eating, and if it's the same exact amount of time, then they say the same thing, and that's a problem. Next. The first brayso, Rabbi Yehuda says that stira is the amount of time it takes to eat 3 eggs. The second brayso, he said it's the amount of time it takes to eat 1. So says the Gemara, the Dvar of the Rabbi Akiva Ka'amar. The Ka'amar Mishar Mitzliya Uvigmiya. Says the Gemara that since we established that Rabbi Akiva's opinion is really the amount of time that it takes to roast an egg and to eat an egg. So the first brayso where Yehuda ben Beseira, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira is saying, it says that it take the amount of time to eat 3 eggs. He's just explaining Rabbi Akiva's opinion. He's saying that you think Rabbi Akiva just means to eat an egg. No, he means to roast it and to eat it, which takes it takes the same amount of time as it takes to eat 3 eggs. Okay, next. Good. Yeah. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira was explaining Rabbi Akiva's opinion that who says that it has to be to roast it and to eat it, and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says that takes the amount of time of eating 3 eggs one after the other. Okay. Next. Rabbi Elazar ben Yirmiyah America Sheikshar Garde Nima. Rabbi Elazar ben Yirmiyah's opinion was in the first brayso that stira is the amount of time it takes for a weaver to tie his threads. So, Rav Ashi asks, the merachek or the mekarev, are these 2 threads next to each other or are they far from each other? Meaning, does it also include the amount of time it takes for him to take the 2 threads and bring them together from far away from each other? So take it, we don't know. Next. Chonan ben Pinchas Chonan, the son of Pinchas, said, the amount of time it takes for a woman to take a splinter out from between her teeth, a toothpick. So, Rav Ashi asked, when this splinter, is it the mahadek or the le mahadek? Is it wedged between her teeth very tightly, or is it not? So teku, we don't know. Okay. Plima said the amount of time it takes for her to put her hand into the basket to take out a loaf of bread. But Ravashi asked, first of all, is this bread wedged down in between other things in the basket that it takes longer to get it out, or is it loose? Is it is the basket a new basket, or is it an old basket? A new basket still has splinters sticking out, and it can get the bread stuck in it, so it could take longer to take the bread out of a new basket. An old basket's already smoother. Is the bread hot or is it cold? When the bread is hot, you have to take it out more carefully because it's able to break easier. Is it bidechite bidesare? Is it wheat bread or is it barley bread? Wheat bread is more delicate than barley bread. Is it soft or is it hard? So it says the Gemara Teku. Let the question stand. And yeah, okay. Next, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Rabbi Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Yitzchak, the son of Rabbi Yosef, said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, Kol echad ve'echad ba'atzmai shir. All these opinions, the 9 opinions in the brisa, and then including the way we explained the second brisa, all these tanoim, they measured this amount of time themselves from their own experience of having a relation with their wives. They somehow measured how much time it took, and they gave us these shiurim. Okay, but now the Gemara says it's not true. Ben Azai, one of the tanoim that's involved in this argument is Ben Azai, and the Lo Yosef Ben Azai never got married, so how would he know? So says the Gemara Iboy Sema. One answer is that Nosiv Upirish. How that he Taka did get married, but then he got divorced, so he was married at one point, which is Taka what it says in the Gemara in Sivus. Iboy Sema. Another answer is that Meirabish Shmiale. He heard from his teacher. He didn't know himself, but his teacher told him. Or another explanation is that Hashem's secrets are revealed to those that fear Him. That big tzaddikim are able to know, some of the hidden information. Okay. Rav Avira expounded. Sometimes sometimes he would say this drasha in the name of Rav Ami. Sometimes he would say the drasha in the name of Rav Asi. Anyone that eats bread without washing nagal before, considered as if he had a relation with a prostitute. Remember, like it says in the pasuk that we quoted before, that was Chanan ben Pinchas's. That was Plimoy's Zecher Ledavar about the woman sticking her hand in to get bread. So the same pasuk ad isha zayna, for on account of this prostitute woman, ad kikar lechem, until a loaf of bread. So he's darshaning it backwards. That on account of the loaf of bread that the person is eating without washing nagalaser, it's considered as if he had a relation with a prostitute, as if he hired a prostitute. So Amar Rava says, "Hi bad isha zayin ad kikar lechem." You're reading the pasuk backwards. But ad kikar lechem ad isha zayin mibaylim. The pasuk is saying that because of the prostitute, he came to the bread. It's not, you're darshaning it backwards. You're saying that because of the bread, it's considered as if he hired a prostitute. You got to read it the opposite, right? The pasuk should have been written backwards. So Elam Rava says this is what the pasuk means. Anyone that hires a prostitute and has a relation with a prostitute, the soif in the end, the vakish kikar lechem, he will be begging for a loaf of bread because he's going to lose all of his wealth. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Zirka said in the name of Rabbi Eliezer. Anyone that is uncareful with netilas yadayim, nekar min ha'olam, he is uprooted from this world. And Rashi points out that anyone that is over on the Divrei Chacham that goes against what the Chacham says is chayav miso, and he brings a pasuk from Koheles. Rav Chia Barashi said in the name of Rav, Mayim Rishonim. When a man washes for bread, after you wash for bread, you need to pick your hands up. However, after which is the water, when we wash our hands at the end of the meal to get rid of the melech demis, the salt that could be poisonous to the eyes. After you do you have to hold your hands downwards. How come? So. The Gemara is going to say, Tanya Nami Hachi, we have a brisa that says this, that says like this, someone who washes his hands for bread, you need to pick your hands up and lift them upwards. Shema Yotzu Amayim Chutz L'Perek. Because maybe when the person is washing for bread, some of the water went past his wrist, and that water is tamei water. Then if he puts his hands downward, so the water is going to slide back onto his hands. And since that water is tummy, they're going to make his hands tummy again, and then that's going to nullify what he was trying to do when he washed his hands, which is to make them pure, right? Like we learned before Pesach, that stam yadayim shniyos, that they have the level of a sheni, and the Chachamim said that when you wash midrabanan, the hands are a sheni, and when you wash the netilas yadayim, it takes away the tumah from your hands. And since you're washing the netilas yadayim, the water itself is going to become tamei, like we said before, also that if a sheni touches liquid midrabanan, the liquid becomes a rishon, so the water also becomes tamei, and then since it went off the guy's hand, if he's gonna hold his hands downward, it's gonna go back and it's gonna make his hands tummy. Right? However, by my machronim, we want you to hold your hands downwards because we're trying to get rid of the salty poison on the fingertips. And if you hold your hands upwards, the water could still be in the water and it'll just spread to your whole hand. So we want it to go out of it. Good. Rabbi Abo said, anyone that eats bread without drying his hands, if his hands are still wet, it's as if he's eating impure bread. Remember, like it says in the pasuk in Yecheskel, over there, Hashem told Yecheskel to take a bunch of ingredients and make bread and to cook the bread on top of boiling human feces. So it's a disgusting thing. And says the Eibush there Shnemar, Vayimer Hashem said, Kacha Yechlu b'nei Yisrael Lachmam Tamei v'Gomer. This is how the Yidden are going to eat their bread. Tamei, impure, and Hashem was trying to bring out that when the Yidden go into Golus, they're going to have disgusting bread, like what Yecheskel was eating. So he says, just like this, impure bread, and we call disgusting bread impure. When a person touches bread with wet hands, the bread becomes disgusting. So too, if someone eats bread without drying his hands, it's considered as if it is impure. Okay. Next, the pasuk that we explained before continues. The pasuk continues that a married woman nefesh yikara tatzud will trap a precious soul. Okay, so let's see what does this pasuk mean. Rabbi Yechanan said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, Kol Adam sheish be'gasas haruach, any man that has a haughty spirit, a person who's a balgaiva lebasoif, in the end, nitshal be'eshasish, he's going to stumble in the avera of having a relation with a married woman. Shnamar, like it says in the pasuk, that the married woman will trap this precious soul. And a precious soul means a guy that Hatzich has, that his soul is all precious, meaning that he views himself very highly. So he's this haughty person, so he's gonna have this problem with the Eshes Ish. Amar Rava says, you're saying that the woman is trapping the guy. So first of all, hi nefesh yikara nefesh gvoya mibayla. If you're trying to tell me that the pasuk is talking about a haughty person, it should have said nefesh gvoya, someone who has a high spirit. Why is it a nefesh yikara, a precious spirit? Why the word precious? It should say a haughty spirit. But another question, he tells me the pasuk is saying that the woman is trapping the precious soul. You're trying to say that the guy is gonna trap the Eshes Ish, right? So you're reading the pasuk farkar. So Allah Rava says that you have to read the pasuk like this. Anyone that has a relation with a married woman, even though, meaning not his wife, even if he learned a lot of Torah, that the Torah, it says about the Torah in Mishlei Yikarahi Pninim that it is more precious than jewels, and Pninim or Taiching Mikoyin Gadol Shizachnas Lefnai V'Lefnim. Pninim is also a trikoin for the words Lefnai V'Lefnim, the Kohen Gadol that enters to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which is the innermost chamber. So the Torah is even more precious than the Kohen Gadol that enters the innermost chamber. So so nefesh yikara, which the Torah is yikara, the sin of being with a married woman, perhaps even person that learned a lot of Torah, which is yikara, nefesh yikara, and it's going to trap him and bring him to the judgment of Gehenna. Okay. Bechlan said in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Kol Adam sheish be'gasas haruach, anyone that has haughtiness, ki'ilu eved avedis kechavim, it's as if he serves avodah zarah. Ksiv hacha, how? Why? Because we have Gzera Shavah. Says hacha in Mishlei To'avas Hashem Kol Gvalev that anyone who has this haughty heart is an abomination to the Abish there. Ksiv Hasam, and it says in the pasuk in Parshas Ekev, like Savi, so Evel Beisecha, that you can't bring an abomination into your home. And over there, it's referring to idols and Avodah Zarah. So too, we have Exer Shava Ta'eva, a person who is haughty, a person who's a Balgaiva with Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Yochanan Didei Amar, that Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Not Rabbi Yochanan said by himself, Ilu Kafar v'Ikar, that someone who's haughty, it's as if he is denying the Eibush there. Never, like it says in the pasuk, also in Parshas Ekev, your heart will be, is gonna be lifted up, meaning you're gonna have a haughty heart. And because you're so haughty, you're self-sufficient, and you think you're the coolest. You're gonna forget about the Eibush there because you think that all of your achievements come from yourself. Reb Chama bar Chanina Amar, Reb Chama the son of Chanina said, that someone who's haughty, it's as if he had a relation with all of the forbidden relations in the Torah. It says about haughtiness that haughtiness is an abomination to Hashem. That's the pasuk in Mishlei. When it says in the pasuk in Parshas Achrei this coming week's parsha, next Shabbos, it says all of these abominations were done by the people in Canaan, and you guys can't do like that. And he uses the word for the Arayos, he uses the word toyeves, abomination. So you have another Gzer Shava between Arayos and Gaiva. Okay. Ula Amar Ula says that someone who is haughty ki'ilu bana bama, it's as if he built a bama, as if he built a altar for Avodah Zarah. Shenamar, like it says in the pasuk in Yeshaya, over there it's talking about how in the future there's going to be a day of judgment and there's going to be a big destruction all around, and it says love be nikike seifim love be nikras atzurim uve nikike asloim, people should be hiding in the clefts of rocks from the Eibishter's anger and whatever is going to go on that day. And the pasuk ends off, you should cease from praising and from holding from holding of people that their souls are in their noses. Because what is he considered? Meaning it's trying to say that Hashem is so great that and it's trying to bring out shifus adam, that people are very lowly, and the only thing that's really powerful is the Eibishter. So it's saying people are neshama bapa, but we're going to touch it like this. A guy who has his soul in his nose is the pshat in the pasuk is that you breathe through your nose. So your neshama, your breath comes through your nose, and every person is neshama ba'apay. The Alter Rebbe also teaches this pasuk in Likkutei Torah that that you should seize and not get involved with a person that his soul is in his nose. That every morning a person's soul is in his nose. He wakes up, your neshama is breathed back into you. It's it's still in the nose region of your body. And through when you daven, the function of davening is that it brings your neshama down into the rest of your body, and it integrates it into the rest of your life. And the person who didn't daven yet, he still has neshama ba'aplay. So or someone that didn't daven properly, even so, it's a mimer over there about davening. But over here, we're touching the puzzle like this. Neshama ba'aplay means his soul is in his nose, that it's always right in front of him the whole day. Is his own godless and his accomplishments, and how he's the best is always in front of him the whole day. It's in his nose, right in front of his eyes. And don't read it, because what is he considered? Ela bama, to read a bama, which is a platform for Avodah Zarah, a mizbeach for Avodah Zarah. Read it that he's considered as if he built this bama. Okay, good. Next, the pasuk continues. Yod li. This is the pasuk that we mentioned before that says, "Toyavas Hashem kol gvalev." Yeah, that anyone who is haughty, it's an abomination to the Eibishter. So the pasuk over there continues, Yod li, hand to hand will not be erased. What does that mean? Amar Rav, so Rav says, anyone that has a relation with a married woman, even if he praised the Eibishter, and he declared that the Eibishter owns the heavens and the earth like Avram Avinu. That it says in the pasuk about Avram Avinu, this is in the story of Avram Avinu in Parshas Lech Lecha, when he fought off the 4 kings, and the king of Sodom came back to him. He rescued Sodom, and the king of Sodom came to him and he said, "Give me the people, and you take all the wealth, all the spoils." And Avram said, and I lift my hand to Hashem, the exalted God, who owns the heavens and the earth. So even someone that praised Hashem in that fashion, like Avram Avinu, lo yinokem medina shel Gehenim will not be cleansed from the will not the judgment of Gehenim will not be erased from him. Okay, fine. So now Kashi the debate Rab Shila, the yeshiva Rab Shila had this shaila that ha yod yod yinoke yodimi boile. If you're trying to compare this pasuk yod yod yinoke to Avram Avinu's praise for Hashem, you should say yod yodi, because the word by Avram Avinu is harimaisi yodi. I lift my hand, so the pasuk should say yod yodi or yodi lo yinoke if it's trying to connect these two stories. So Ella Amri debate Rab Shila. So Rab Shila's yeshiva taught that afilu kibol terek Moshe Rabbeinu. They said that read the pasuk yada yada yonaka, the hand to hand will not be erased. That even someone that accepted the Torah like Moshe Rabbeinu did, Siv Bey, that it says in the Torah in Parshas V'zes Habracha, Mimino Yesh Das Lamai, that the Eibishter gave Moshe the Torah from his right hand, a fiery statutes. He gave the Torah to them, so he gave Hashem Ki'ilu gave it from his hand to Vyachal, from his hand to Moshe's hand. So yod liyod. So lo yinokem medina shel Gehenim. If he has the relation with the married woman, he will not be exonerated from the judgment of Gehenim. So kasha leila Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan had a shaila on that pirish also. Hi yod liyod. It says a hand to a hand. You're trying to say that yod miyod Moshe got the Torah from the Eibishter, so it's a hand from a hand, not a hand to a hand. And Moshe didn't give Hashem the Torah. So yod miyod mi. Then the pasuk should have said a hand from a hand. So Elam Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, what's yod liyod? A hand to a hand. Turning to daf hey. Even a guy that does righteousness, he gives charity in secret. It says in the pasuk in Mishlei that someone that gives in secret, he will extinguish the anger, right? So usually giving tzedakah in secret is this great thing. So even someone who has this chus of giving tzedakah in secret, but if he committed adultery with a married woman, he will not be absolved from the dinim of Gehenim. So, Chevra, the Gemara over here is talking all about how careful we have to be with haughtiness, with gaiva, which is one of the top on the list of the negative traits that we need to get rid of, and especially now we're on Pesach. Right? Pesach is all about getting rid of the chametz and we eat matzah, which represents the bittul. So this is mamish the avodah of these days. Everyone should have a good Shabbos, and we will meet again Matzah Shabbos.